everybody. Welcome to this episode of Think Business. Looking forward to having my brother-in-law on, Joe Garavaglia. Joe, what up?
John, how are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you because it's a really important topic that I think a lot of times, oddly enough, people aren't thinking about enough. Joe is with Estate Planning Solutions. He's an estate plan attorney, one of the smartest people I know. And so I'm excited to have you here. So Joe, so something I always like to start all my shows with are kind of talking about where people's stucks are, right? And so where do you see people kind of stuck in the estate planning kind of maybe, mindset or whatever it is? And then how do you help people get unstuck?
Yeah, it's easy. So one of the biggest hurdles that I hear and that I see, people think you have to be rich. I don't know what rich is, okay? But people think you have to be rich to have a trust, to have an estate plan. And that is completely false.
Yeah.
And once I explain to someone, if you own real estate, if you own a home, whether you have a mortgage or not, that in and of itself is a reason to do an estate plan.
Right. That
you don't
quote
have to be
unquote.
rich. You just have to be a homeowner, and that is a reason. You just have to have minor children, and that in and of itself is a reason.
Yeah. And what if you don't have either one of those? What if you live in an apartment and you've got a great job, right? I mean,
yeah. So if you don't have real estate, and you're not thinking, wow, I don't have enough. Again, having minor children is enough reason to do estate planning because, God forbid, something happens to you, your minor children can't inherit more than $5,000. So you create a problem for them. Another stuck I see a lot of people have is they don't know who to appoint. And so they get hung up in trying to find the right person. I don't know who I want to be my financial power of attorney. I don't know who I want to be the alternate. And so they just don't do it. Well, that's a terrible reason not to do estate planning. Find someone. It's not going to be perfect.
Yeah. Well, my dad passed away, as you know, and I joke with my brother that the best gift my dad ever gave me is that he made my brother the executor.
So this is a funny story.
My brother spent, 100 hours, and there was a lot of stuff I just couldn't do, but it was, yeah.
And so, John, you know my family, obviously, where we've known each other for probably close to 20 years now. And when I was doing my mom and stepdad's estate plan, I told my mom, I don't want to be the trustee. I do this for a living. Please don't make me do this. Ultimately she wants me to do it. But it's a lot of work. But it is a nice gift to give children because it does help make post-death an already difficult emotional time. It makes it as easy, quote unquote, as it can be.
Yeah, totally. Think community, something to think about. We're going to move on a little bit, but it's really important to get prepared. And that's going to be kind of a through line of what we're going to be talking about today is getting prepared in everything we do, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a cold call, whether it's a conference, whatever it is. But this is about your life. So important. Okay, thanks for that, Joe. So let's talk about kind of how people should be thinking about it. So once someone thinks about it, they're listening to this, they're, God, you know what? I don't have an estate plan. And this happened to me when my father passed away. I didn't even realize that I hadn't updated my estate plan in way too long. It had been like 15 years, but it didn't feel like 15 years. And so let's kind of go step by step a little bit. How should people, once they realize they need one, what's the first step?
They need to call an estate planning attorney, right? That specializes in estate planning. I know it seems like a stupid answer, but that's the truth. If you have an interest in estate planning, you're like, hey, I have minor children. I own real estate. I know I need to explore this. Talk with an estate planning attorney. Talk with me. It's what I do. Yeah.
Right. There are, if you have a home and you don't want to use an agent, you can do it yourself. There's a lot of do it yourself out there. I've never heard of a do-it-yourself estate plan, but why would someone not want to do that, or why?
So John, actually, there are a lot of do-it-yourself estate plans. Okay, in fact, I hear advertisements for them all the time, and they will tell you they're state specific. Okay, and
Yeah.
estate plans are kind of similar across the board. So there's not a huge difference amongst states, but they're not giving you that consultation. That's the big difference. So you can prepare documents all you want, okay? But if someone doesn't understand that you have to fund a trust, you have to make sure beneficiary designations are done properly. You have to make sure your real estate that you own actually goes to your trust. And indeed, work needs to be done in order to make that happen. Your LegalZoom or whatever that is program is not telling you that you need to address your real estate. Even though I spit out a trust online, it's not helping fill all the gaps.
Right. And so Think Community, we talk about a lot of things, and whether you choose to do one on your own or not, but in my opinion, always be looking at things as an investment and not an expense. Because if you don't, Joe, what happens if you don't do it right?
Yeah, well, you create problems, right? So the problems when someone calls an estate planner, one of the big things they're trying to do is to avoid probate court for their family when they pass away. If you are not addressing your estate plan, if you are not funding it properly, if you are buying real estate and not calling your estate planning attorney, your estate plan will fail. And when I prepare a trust for someone, I don't want their family to come to me years later and say, we need to go through probate court. One of the goals was to avoid this. And if they were just a little more proactive and revisited their estate plan and updated it, they wouldn't have those issues.
Yeah. After it's hard to think of things, because when you build an estate plan, you're thinking of the end of your life, right? You're thinking of, so for some people, I think there's a lot of emotional baggage that goes to it that almost kind of paralyzes them from doing it. What do you say to those people?
I don't mean to be blunt, but I tell we are all going to pass away at some point. We can't avoid that. So we could bury our heads and act like this won't happen, and we'll just keep kicking that can down the road. But when you kick the can down the road, you're just going to make a problem for your kids. There's no other way to put that. So you've got to get through that hump, and you've got to get to the point where I know I need to do this. Nothing bad is going to happen to me because I prepared myself. I hear that often. I don't want to do a will because then I'm going to die. No, you're not going to do, you're not going to pass because you've prepared. That's not a bad omen, right? You
got to get prepared. A buddy of mine told me this story once. I may be getting some of it wrong, but the gist of it is right. This buddy was telling me that his buddy's dad passed away. And so he said to his Mom, we got to go to the bank and this is like, 20, 30 years ago. We got to get to the bank and get into Dad's safe deposit box, but we got to do it because before they find out that Dad died. Mm-hmm. So he said to the mom, whatever you do, don't say a word. It was like right after he had been. So they went to the bank and he's back in the safe deposit box. And the president of the bank comes out and says, Mrs. Such and Such, I'm so sorry to hear that your husband died. And she said, he did?
I was going to say, what did she say? Me too?
right. Because the kid, but today you can now put people on your safe deposit box.
Yeah. But by the way, John, that happens frequently. And there is actually a procedure to get access to a safe deposit box to recover estate planning documents without having to go through a full court process, because it does happen often.
Right. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about, if you work with Joe, I know you have an estate organizer, right? Which is a great document that gets people gets me thinking about it, and got our father-in-law thinking about it, ways to think about things that maybe you wouldn't have thought about. And so without talking about the whole document, what are some of the key things that people should be thinking about that you've mentioned a couple other things, really got to organize?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So post-death is a big issue. Okay. At a previous employer, I acted as trustee. So I have gone down that road and done that administrative work. If you don't know where the deceased individual banked, Do they have one life insurance policy? Do they have two? Do they have Fidelity? If you don't know any of that, you are on a wild goose chase. And as you said earlier, because you witnessed your brother, it is already a big paperwork exercise. It is a part-time job administering a estate for a few months of your life. If you want to make it even more difficult on the administrator, on the trustee, whatever you want to call them, if you want to make it more difficult on them, then don't share any information. Then they will be calling banks wondering, did my parents have an account here? Did they not? So being organized is key for the post-death administrative process to go smoothly.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing that I see in real estate. I beat this into clients' head. When you purchase real estate, a light bulb must go off. You must call the estate planning attorney. That is another one that hangs people up all the time. Not being organized and not understanding that real estate has to be addressed.
Let's talk about communication amongst spouses, right? You talked earlier, you have real estate, you've married, you have kids, yada, yada. One thing, and I did this after my dad passed away, is Joanna and I had a team meeting with our, advisor and our insurance person and our, attorney. I mean, a whole team of people, because what I realized is Joanna, typically I'm dealing with it and Joanna wasn't really in the loop. And so we really had a family meeting to make sure that everybody knew everybody.
John, if I told you that 30 seconds before you and I started this call, I just got off a Zoom meeting with the CPA, the estate planning attorney, the financial advisor, their powers of attorney, and their trustee, because you're exactly right. Having that team and having everyone familiar and comfortable and knowing, hey, if something happens, I can call this person. They'll reach out to the financial advisor. They'll call the estate planning attorney. I don't know how to use X document. Well, they know how to get in touch with Joe. It is huge to have everyone on the same plate. And so it's a great meeting. Most people do not do that. But introducing someone, I don't know. In the thought, the reason this came about was the financial advisors set this meeting up and they said, why would the first time we introduce ourselves to you be in a time of panic, be in a time of crisis? We would rather know each other now. So if that comes about, we know how to move forward because we have some relationship with each other. So I don't know why more people don't do that, because it's a great idea.
Great idea. Who should be taking lead in the mix that you just talked about? Who should be taking lead on that? Is it the financial person?
I would say so. Now that seems easy for me to put it off on someone else, but one of the bad things about estate planning is it is transactional. Once I'm done with your estate plan, especially if you have adult children, there's a good chance you may never make a change to that estate plan. I may never see you again. You will see your financial advisor annually. So I try to kind of put that funding, that piece of it on them to keep that communication open.
Yeah. I think community, a family meeting is really, really important. I agree with you, Joe. I just keep on going back to when my dad passed away. Like we knew where everything was, but there wasn't a family meeting prior to. And one thing, this is kind of a crazy story. Nobody knew the password to his computer, which had like a ton of very, very important things in it. And my stepbrother-in-law actually, like on like the second or third guess, happened to get it.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, So I mean, it was really like just sheer luck. But talk about passwords.
Yeah, that's that kind of ties into the organizer, John. There's an area on this organizer that I provide my clients where they can list things about bank accounts they have, stocks they have, funds they have, any of those things, passwords, right? And we see it all the time. We have friends who pass away, but yet we continue to get Facebook posts from them. 3 years after because no one has the access to get into and shut that account off. They don't know the password, right? They don't have the ability to get in there. So it's important to do that. And it's extremely important now. Years ago, it wasn't as important. Think about bank statements. You could always have a bank statement forwarded to an office or somewhere. No one gets a hard copy anymore. So if you don't know the password to that person's bank account, you may never know that it even exists. You'll never find a hard copy. So passwords are extremely critical.
Yeah, I love it. All right.
My engineers are very, very, very proactive with that. I love when I work with engineers and I bring this up to them, John, and I say it's important. And they always say, hey, I have an Excel sheet with everything on. They're always very organized. So the more organized people are, the more I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Good. All right. Quick speed round. A book, a TED Talk, or an article that's had an impact on you?
Probably a book, one that I just read.
What?
And it's and I may be mixing up the title. It's the Motivational Manifest or the Manifest. If you read it,
Oh, the Manifesto.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
It was great.
yeah.
I just wrapped it up actually while I was at work this week. Phenomenal book. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Kind of away from a statement, but do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
You know, and be genuine in what you do, and good things come about.
Yeah. Finish this sentence. One thing everybody should do today to get their estate plan going is
call me 586-9915. No, yeah, you know, contact an estate planning attorney. Don't hesitate. You know, most estate planning attorneys, I specifically offer free consultations. Okay. And I always go into consultations telling people my job is to educate you.
Yeah.
If you leave my meeting educated and understanding, if you go forward, great. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah. Well, tell everybody, Joe, where they can connect with you, learn more, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So like you said, myself and my partner, who we go back as we met as freshmen in high school, but his name is Joe. We are partners at Estate Planning Solutions. Our office, is in downtown Rochester, and our number is 586-991-5860. And you can get in touch with me via phone anytime.
Awesome. Joe, thanks. It's always, I always love connecting and talking with you and learning from you. Think community. It's really, really important to get prepared. We're talking about estate planning today for your family, your life, your business. It makes it everything easier for when people need these types of documents. You may not want to talk about it, but it's something that you need to talk about. If Joe can help you, please reach out. If I can help you, you can reach me at johndwoskin.com. Joe, always fun, brother.
Thank you. It's crazy. We've never done this, and for as long as you've been doing it, so it's funny. Right. It's fun to do it. Yes.
We'll do more. We're going to do some series because next year people gotta get their head out of sand and kind of be thinking about these types of things.
Start checking the boxes of things to do.
Right? Yeah. Amen. All right. Thanks, brother.
All right. Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.